The murder of the 53-year-old Liberal mayor of Gdańsk, Pawel Adamowicz, has left Poland in shock, and it has raised questions about its deeply divided society and at times toxic political debate. Some of that shock comes from the fact the attack was filmed. The footage shows a man running on stage and stabbing Adamowicz as he attended a concert for Poland's largest annual charity event, which raises money for hospital equipment to treat children. The assailant paces back and forth, arms aloft like a victorious boxer, still holding the 15-centimeter, 6-inch knife. He grabs a microphone and tells the crowd he blames the mayor's former party, Civic Platform, for sending him to prison. Political violence is rare in Poland. This is the first time a serving high-ranking official has been murdered since the end of communism in 1989. A 27-year-old man from Gdańsk has been charged with the mayor's murder, named as Stefan W. He reportedly has a history of mental illness and was released from prison last December after serving 5.5 years for armed robbery. But there is a feeling that the mayor's murder was not just the result of a perhaps mentally ill man seeking revenge for a perceived injustice. Many commentators are blaming Poland's bitter political divisions and widespread online hate speech. The assassination of the mayor of Gdańsk shows that we have crossed the Rubicon as a society, wrote Bogusław Krobota, editor-in-chief of the Rzeczpospolita newspaper, in an editorial. If there is no systematic fight against hatred, we will all have blood on our hands. Poland is deeply polarized. On one side are those who support the law and justice government, with its mixture of conservative Roman Catholic values, EU Eurosc, PTICISM and generous welfare handouts for families and the less well-off. Then there are those who support the government's pro-EU, liberal and left-wing opponents, like Mr. Adamowicz, using its control of the public media. The government exclusively blames the opposition for the level of hatred in Polish politics. Meanwhile, much of the country's privately owned media is routinely critical of the government and says law and justice is responsible. Adamowicz had come under attack in nationalist and right-wing circles for his support of migrants, LGBT issues, and pro-EU views. Last year, the far-right All Polish Youth Group issued a fake death certificate for the mayor, listing the cause of death as liberalism, multiculturalism, and stupidity. Jaroslaw Kurski, deputy editor-in-chief of the popular liberal daily Gazette of the Butchers, wrote in an editorial that as the party in office, law and justice bear responsibility for restoring dignity to the debate. Let's stop pretending now. Pawel Adamowicz was the most hated local politician by right-wing government propaganda. On the right-wing forums, they did not stop the hatred even after his death. He wrote, President Andrzej Duda has called on Poles to show unity in the face of violence. Despite their political differences, the tragedy is that it took the murder of a kind and respected man for that appeal to be made. 2 Scandinavian women tourists have been found dead in Morocco, with kids to their necks, the country's interior ministry said. Both bodies were found near the town of Imlia in the high Atlas mountain range, near the foot of North Africa's highest peak, Mount Dobko. The women, from Denmark and Norway respectively, have not yet been named. A police investigation has been launched into their deaths. The Interior Ministry statement said, the United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 30 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year, compared with 35 recorded in 2017. The United States has a huge military base in neighboring Djibouti, from where it launches attacks on the militants. Mr. Trump gave the United States military greater authority in March 2017 to attack militants in Somalia. Traditionally, United States presidents have been wary of intervening in Somalia since 80s Special Forces soldiers died fighting militias in the capital Mogadishu in 1993, a battle dramatized in the film Black Hawk Down. No civilians were killed in the latest airstrikes, which were carried out in coordination with the Somali government. The United States military said, alongside our Somali and international partners, we are committed to preventing Al-Shabaab from taking advantage of safe havens from which they can build capacity and attack the people of Somalia. The United States Africa Command said, Al-Shabaab, which is linked to Al-Qaeda, has not yet commented on the latest strikes. Somalia-based security think tank the High Royal Institute said in a report published in November that Al-Shabaab had been forced to change tactics following the upsurge in airstrikes. The institute said the group was now conducting fewer mass attacks on military bases, but attacks on government offices and businesses which refused to pay its taxes had increased markedly. The United States State Department, in its most recent report on terrorism, described Somalia as a terrorist safe haven, and said Al-Shabaab remained a threat. Despite suffering setbacks, the group retained control over large parts of the country, and the ability to carry out high-profile attacks using suicide bombers, explosive devices, mortars, and small arms. The report added, the United States military says it has killed 62 fighters from the Islamist group Al-Shabaab in 6 airstrikes in Somalia. 4 airstrikes on Saturday killed 32 militants, and a further 2 on Sunday killed 28, it said in a statement. These were the deadliest air attacks in Somalia since November 2017, when the United States said it had killed 100 militants. Somalia has seen a sharp increase in the number of airstrikes and casualties since President Donald Trump took office in the United States in January 2017. A tally by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reveals that at least 400 people have been killed in airstrikes since the beginning of 2017, far more than the previous 10 years combined. The latest strikes bring to at least 30 the number carried out in Somalia so far this year.